Stugotz here for 1-800-Flowers. There aren't many memories that top the excitement of waking up on Christmas morning. Now that we're older, you can still capture a piece of that joy by surprising everyone on your list with peppermint roses from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order 12 peppermint roses for only $29.99, 1-800-Flowers will give you an extra half dozen and a vase absolutely free. That's up to 40% off the original price. Peppermint roses are the perfect holiday surprise for the special people on your list. This beautiful bouquet in a rush of holiday white and red roses will leave your loved one stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Amazing roses at an unbeatable price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 12 peppermint roses for only $29.99, plus another half dozen roses and a vase for free is an unreal deal, but it expires Wednesday. There's 1-800-Flowers.com, and then there's everybody else. You know who I trust and depend on for life's most important moments. To order 12 peppermint roses for $29.99, plus another half dozen roses and a vase for free, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Dan. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Dan. Hurry, offer expires Wednesday.
With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of getting 2 W's on the road or catching the home run ball without spilling your drink. Double boom. Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
I'm trying to think, Stugotz, of what is the best apocalyptic movie. Like, my references are getting more and more dated. So when I go to Mad Max, I'm going into the 80s with a movie when I'm thinking of sort of apocalypse. What was that movie last year? Excellent movie in the desert.
Fury Road?
Yeah.
Mad Max Fury Road?
Yeah. Yes.
So Mad Max isn't that dated anymore.
No, but I'm thinking about the other Mad Max. I'm thinking more along the lines of the Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is a young man, and what I wanted to ask you is, or like even when I talk about the game shows of an apocalyptic time, like The Running Man, you remember that?
Yes.
That whole movie where Richard Dawson is a game show host and it's an apocalyptic time. Whatever these references are conjuring in your mind, I want you to think of on the televisions there, a couple of games from yesterday are on the screen. In one of them, the quarterback is on the field spasming, looking like he's having a seizure.
Yeah.
On one of the televisions in this apocalyptic time. And on the other television, it's just Jacksonville against Seattle. All of it. And you're just watching and it's like just violent and scary. And in Jacksonville, for some reason, the footage coming out of Jacksonville, have you noticed this? Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is television footage that comes out of Jacksonville a little bit grainier?
It is. I have noticed that for years.
Well, but this is what I'm talking about. The whole game had like a film on it.
Yeah.
The whole Jacksonville-Seattle game had right? It felt dirty. And what I found myself doing is getting closer to the television. Because those are the parts of football that I find most interesting as they keep sort of trying to scrub it and scrub it and scrub it. And then next thing you know, somebody's throwing a beer at a dude and now you're in that apocalyptic time. And he's trying, and you are grateful as he is enraged. This giant is enraged because you have disrespected him by throwing a can from the Gladiator Arena at him.
Right.
And never in your life have you been more grateful that those walls at those football stadiums are tall, because he was enraged and he went to climb a wall in a way a man his size shouldn't be climbing a wall. And if he had been able to get up on that wall, Stugotz, you would have had violent footage.
Oh, no question about it. Quentin Jefferson is his name, and you're right. He tried to climb those walls, the railings, and had he gotten there, had he gotten to that fan, it would have gotten really ugly.
Did you guys hear the sound? I don't know if you guys have it back there. Jalen Ramsey is, and I really like Jalen Ramsey. He's a great football player and an interesting personality. He's not afraid of anybody. As good an athlete as Florida State has ever produced. And I know Deion Sanders went there. Like, this kid is really good.
Yep.
And he knows it. And did you hear how because that game yesterday, he kind of warned you that it was coming. Because they asked him about respecting Seattle, and he gave them no respect. He was like, no. That's what they did. We're here now. And Seattle is a violent football team.
Yes,
Seattle is.
And a prideful one.
Yeah, right. And so what that game to me To me, everything in that game, and I know how dirty it was, all of it. I'm like, on a great football Sunday, I'm like, that's the dirtiest football I've seen this year. And I saw that Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game. It wasn't that. This game had the good fortune of not having the concussion hits that will be scandals and a guy, that you fear paralysis for. But if I dropped that into the middle of it, it'd be the most popular sport in this apocalypse I've created. Right?
Yes.
That game would be the most, like, if I merge the two games, the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game where two guys were suspended for hits that were violent and another guy looked like he was paralyzed, and everything that was happening in the grainy footage of that gray Jacksonville stench, that game looked like it was being played in a sewer and should have been.
Well, technically it is.
No.
Sorry, man.
You're going to get a text
sorry.
from Baselli.
Baselli probably agrees with
You're
me.
not sorry. No, but did anyone else experience it that way? I'm telling you, look, man, I have not been somebody who the entirety of my life has believed in, like, the ideas of energies and forces, but every other game that I watched on Sunday had light in it. This one was spewing evil, man. My television was radiating something that was haunted. Every time that they went from the red zone to the Seattle-Jacksonville game, I had like a chill come up my skin because I'm like, ooh, that is dirty.
We were all sort of squinting at our televisions the same way because that's the first time any of us have watched a Jacksonville Jags game at home since, 2007? Let's be real.
I mean, it's been a minute.
We all discovered that look of that stadium
But we
together.
were drawn to it by an evil force. Like, we were drawn to it, or if you were drawn to it, because there was some great football played yesterday.
There really was. One of the best football weekends of the year for the NFL, no doubt. And it helped not having college for the NFL because you really look forward to Sunday. I didn't realize that until yesterday, how much watching college football was affecting me watching the NFL. Because when it wasn't there, man, was I looking forward to 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah, well, and also this season, Saturdays were a tough act to follow in many respects.
Yes, but there were some great games, you're right.
I mean, yeah, it's the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game and the Rams-Philadelphia game is what I've been longing for. I want those games so badly. Football's great fun when it's like that. And I'll take, in the interim, just give us content, like some of these Dark Force games.
Right.
But I can't. When was the last time? I don't think I remember. I know there have been violent series before, but Jacksonville, Seattle had to it something extra, no? Something like it felt like it stopped being competition and just became like gladiator spectacle. If a lion had jumped out and dragged Blake Bortles to the sideline by an ankle, would you have been surprised?
Nope.
A lion on a chain. If a door had popped open and some sort of apocalyptic creature had come out of the end zone, I'm trying to figure out when's the last time I felt something exactly like that watching a football game where it was. Did anyone else, first of all, am I alone with this? Did anyone else experience it this way? Because I might be alone with it. Just the idea of that is one of the most hostile things I've ever seen in sporting competition. And I saw Mike Tyson bite Evander Holyfield's ear. And it ended at the end of it because Seattle had lost and Seattle's prideful and they're stubborn and they're defiant. They just go dirty. Bennett goes dirty. He should be suspended for everything at the end of that. You can't be diving at people's knees. If you're going to suspend Gronk for brain damage, you got to suspend Bennett for going at knees at the end of that game.
They probably will.
And instigating everything that happened there.
Are you saying the Bills-Colts game had more light than the Jacksonville game?
Oh, that's pretty good. Now merge that game. Let's talk about that game for a second.
That game was fun.
What was it, though?
I love a good snow game.
It was surprisingly fun. Most snow games are trash. That game was surprisingly fun.
No, the reason I was going to say was it fun is because I feel like it was fun for sure for 7 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, I don't want to watch slow football. If I wanted to watch slow football, I'd be running around in my front yard playing football with my dad. I don't want to watch football look slow. For 7 minutes, I'll like the novelty. And I do have to admit this. This is both where the fun peaked for me, and soon thereafter, I knew it wouldn't get any better than this during that game. Old Nathan Peterman, our good friend Nathan Peterman, is scrambling to the right side, and he gets just broken in half violently. And our good buddy Nathan Peterman is headed to the concussion protocol. I think. I'm just watching the television. I don't have reports. I'm just watching. He looks concussed to me. And you know how I lament violence all the time, shaking a fist. He has so much ice on his face and all over his helmet, like just plastered on the side where he got flattened and where his brain was concussed. And I'm like, funny. I'm like, I'm sorry. That's not good. I don't like that you got brain damage there, but you look funny. It looks like a fun cushion.
A fun cushion.
Because
everything's more fun in the snow, right?
It's just, I don't think he thought it was fun.
Probably not.
I'm saying I gave myself permission to laugh at something that was clearly not good for that man's brain because it was Nathan Peterman. But because it was Nathan Peterman's brain, and because he had ice all in sheets, like he'd just been tackled, and you saw where the tackle was. It was like police tape ice on the side of his face. Like you saw, there is where he landed, and look, it's smushed, and it's on the side of his face, and that must have hurt because that formed on his face because he was hitting something hard.
Wasn't funny at the time, but it is funny now.
But it was funny when he got up and he's woozy, and I'm worried for him. But it passes, engulfed by laughter. Sorry, man. You guys made the sport. I'm just living with it.
Dan Le Batard.
No, facts and info.
Ripe cranberries will bounce like rubber balls.
What?
Okay. I don't think that is an answer to anything that I was asking, but okay. Very good. So you're telling me that a ripe cranberry will bounce crazy, like if you throw it really hard, it'll ricochet all over your room.
Stugotz.
I don't believe that. That's fake news. Fake news. Sad. Fake news.
It's a fact, Dan.
A fact?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So just now on the television screen here in the studio, first take, Donovan McNabb is talking about something. I cannot hear it, but along the scroll on the bottom, it said who should be the NFC favorites. And then it was all the teams, Panthers and Saints and Eagles and Rams and Carolina. I already said them. And so the question is, who should be the NFC favorite? And the correct answer is, who the bleep knows? Whoever's at home, I guess.
Whoever's healthiest.
Maybe that too. And the question is irrelevant now because 3 weeks from now we will have lost 4 more quarterbacks to this apocalyptic evil that seems to be spreading from Jacksonville into the rest of the league.
It's an exciting week for you because I think the favorite should be the Green Bay Packers. I mean, Hundley did exactly
what... It was an exciting week. I had it circled December 17th, return of Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Hundley, keep them alive. Keep that army of schlubs alive until Aaron can ride in on a horse.
He did. He kept them above water and
barely.
But they're there.
They're barely above water, but now, thank you, Hundley. Get out of the way. Here, swooping in from the heavens on one of those dragons from Game of Thrones. Aaron Rodgers into your apocalyptic Sundays, roaring back on a dragon, spewing fire all over the heavens. Oh, now football gets good. There were good football games yesterday, and there were so many games that did not matter, that should have been shot from a cannon into the sky, never returned to this universe. Arizona, Tennessee, get out of my life.
Bears, Bengals.
Ugh, out of my life. And thank you, Colts, Bills, for doing that in the snow, but out of my life.
No, but all meaningless games should be played in snow and 20 below.
Yes, I'm with that.
You should send all the meaningless games to a place where it's snowing.
Guillermo,
yes.
no, I am totally with that. Hold on a second. I'm going to follow this idea wherever it takes us.
Okay.
Guillermo, let's figure this out. We head off into the future right now with all these meaningless games that are on Sunday, so that we're discerning, we're efficient, and what we're getting, what we're snorting on Sunday is that Seahawks-Jags game, and it's 100% pure. It's the dirty stuff. It matters, game matters, everybody hates each other, somebody threw a trident. Give us that game to snort, and just things like that, and Rams, Eagles, block punts, Warrior, hobbled to the sidelines, dragged by a lion of some sort.
You'll take Steelers, Ravens, of course.
Steelers,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Terrell Suggs. Tell me who looks better in the apocalypse, wandering the apocalypse. He is the giant of the other team's army in this apocalypse. Terrell Suggs, right? So, and you take all the bad games and you put them in like amusement parks and snow games and like everywhere else, all the stinko games look like Bills Colts, where you don't even know what you're getting when you tune in. Hey, today they're playing in something that doesn't have gravity. And again, like one of those.
I'm in, though.
Was anyone else rooting for a tie in the Colts-Bills game? Because it would have been perfect if they played that whole game in that horrible condition and there was no outcome.
Oh, yeah, you have to have no outcome there. Look, man, I felt a genuine pang of laughing sadness at Pagano. They had one shot of him walking across the field, just loser. And there's nothing around him except snow and the sadness on his face. I took a picture of it.
What?
I stood in front of my television and I took a picture of it. Did I send it to one of you guys?
Yeah, you sent it to me.
He looked so sad in his eyes. You could read his eyes right in his eyes. I saw Pagano's soul yesterday, and it was broken.
But imagine in that picture if it just said final 7-7.
No, I know that's better.
I think Pagano would rather lose than have that game end at a tie.
I would have been totally okay. I would have been totally okay with, no, not it ending in a tie. No, you guys finish. Just keep going. Even if it takes the rest of December, just finish. Somebody needs to finish.
This is what the losers do. You finish the game. Yes, I like this.
Well, how can someone explain this to me? How the hell do you practice for what the Colts and the Bills did yesterday? Like, what's even the point of doing any of that? Like, there's nobody out there's trained. It's just guys falling down. You can't prepare. Whatever you plan during the week, what the hell difference does that make?
The announcer kept saying, these guys love playing in this. I'm like, no, they not. No, they don't.
No, are you kidding? You ask Nathan Peterman what's left of his brain. You ask him if he enjoyed playing in that.
Time to justify our unreasonable salaries.
You're worried about preparations, though? I mean, how do you get ready for a game with no gravity?
No, but these are things I'm always thinking about. For example, speaking of no gravity, like one of these things. You've seen these people that dive off these cliffs with these like Red Bull wings, and they've
the flying squirrel suits.
Who was the first person who did that? The first one. To just make sure it worked.
Yeah, let's see if they're still here.
No, you know what I mean? Like the first person that did that.
I'll tell you the first person who did that, a white person. You're not going to see any black people doing that, I'll tell you that.
Dan Le Batard.
Ooh. Guillermo, sassy.
Stugotz.
You're sexy when you're sassy.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Monday Night Football, Patriots at Dolphins tonight, 8:30 on ESPN. The Philadelphia Eagles are concerned that quarterback Carson Wentz tore his left ACL. And finally, Morrissey has canceled or postponed 127 concerts since 2012. Smooth plays call for smooth bourbon. Larceny Bourbon is made with more wheat for a smoother taste. Our master distillers hand select only the finest barrels for a true small batch bourbon. Get caught in the act with Larceny Bourbon. Think wisely, drink wisely. Larceny Bourbon, Bardstown, Kentucky, 46% alcohol by volume. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
You're talking about the flightiness of artists there like Morrissey. I can't believe I hadn't mentioned before now that actually hung out with Wu-Tang on Saturday night.
You did, huh?
But the funny thing was watching how late everyone in their crew arrived for a 9 o'clock show, and Method Man sort of just being grateful, profoundly grateful that whatever time it was, 12:30, everybody was there. Like just everyone had arrived. I actually had a conversation. With a guy I thought was Wu-Tang's manager because he introduced himself as Wu-Tang's manager, and then Method Man comes up, and I'm like, hey, I was just talking to your manager, and Method Man says, Wu-Tang has a lot of managers.
Wait, so what time did they get started?
Whatever, very late.
You stayed up that late?
Yeah.
You could still stay up that late?
Yeah.
Oh,
they hit the stage at I think 12:50.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
They knew what they were getting into, though. The set time was 12:30,
right,
but
I mean, you just get there. You as long as Wu-Tang gets there. Is everyone here? All right, maybe not. Let's go.
When they hit the stage, I was counting, making sure all of them were there.
Did you nap before this concert? Or?
No. Saturdays are my big night. So listen, I wanted to talk about some of the things that happened in yesterday's games because this is the football I fell in love with, which is, oh Lord, this looks dangerous. Like all of it. Like I mean, never mind that I couldn't do any of what was happening out there. But, Savage is having a seizure on the field, what looks like a seizure, and they put him back in the game. And then everything that's all over the televisions now, which this feels like the gladiator spectacle.
Yeah.
That people are throwing beers and drinks at this guy who's got his helmet off, and he's enraged.
I believe it's Quentin Jefferson of the Seahawks in that Jaguar game. And I got to tell you, security did a very good job there because those walls were not as big as I thought they were, and he could have easily gotten into the stands and taken care of business.
That could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah, that ball guy in security that was holding him back should actually be playing for the Seahawks offensive line. They could use him. He was incredible blocking that.
But what I'm saying about football, Stugotz, and the XFL tried this, right? But one of the things we're always talking about around here about football is the idea that the NFL wants you to think that it's this pure patriotic thing. And no, football is on the outer edges of violent chaos.
Right.
And so what happens yesterday, the dangerous is an electricity, and the XFL tried to play with that by embracing it. I just asked Guillermo to try and get some sound cleared. Listen to this, Stugotz. Jeff Brom is the Purdue coach. He played in the XFL. And there's this great clip that Eric Rydholm, the producer of Highly Questionable, sent my way of Jeff Brom as a player. And they just show this like montage of Jeff Brom getting hit. And you see him on the ground, plastered, with his helmet sideways, like he's laying clearly with his nose to the sky, but his helmet's not. Okay, so his helmet, the side of his helmet is on his face, and they're interviewing guys like who were at the game, and it's like, yeah, I saw his nose. It was like in his ear, and it's just a really disgusting hit, and then they're showing him in a neck brace and stuff. And then 6 days later, he's playing again, and he comes to the microphone, and it's an XFL interview, and it's like a wrestling interview. Jeff Brom, how are you playing after this montage of just incredible violence? And he's like, and he does a wrestling bit of like 2 questions. Are we breathing? And is it time to play football? And then he runs on the field. Right. But what I'm saying is that's what, like, how great would that Seattle-Jacksonville game had been if it had embraced all of the things that it is instead of what's going to inevitably happen here, which everyone's going to get in trouble and optics, and they're going to rain down penalties because it looks bad for the league.
And then it won't happen as much.
I mean, are you sure? Because I don't think Jacksonville and Seattle were thinking about consequences yesterday when any of that was happening. Like, I think if that's going to happen, it's going to happen at any time in history.
But the thing that you want, they have a system in place that prevents that thing from happening more often. The thing that you love, the thing that you fell in love with, the thing that you saw yesterday in moments.
No, I'm just talking about the danger of it all. The danger of it all is part of its appeal.
Yeah. It is. No, it's totally part of its appeal.
But what I'm saying to you, Stugotz, is do you realize that the NFL is now doing everything that it possibly can to make you either think or feel like it's not that dangerous? That's where it becomes the cigarette stuff.
Right.
Like the NFL wants very much for it to be safe or safer. And it's like, no, part of the appeal is this is grotesque. It's violent. I'm scared of it, and I would never do it. It's just like why I watch those people jump from cliffs in those squirrel suits. Like, I'll watch them do it. I'm not interested in doing it myself.
We know football is boxing. We still watch boxing because we know the inherent risks that are in it, and we don't have the same concern. Football's trying to convince us that it's not boxing.
But that's the appeal. Dan just hit on it. That's the appeal. It's not something I would do myself, because the appeal for me growing up watching football, I could play golf. Not well, but I can go play golf. I can imagine myself hitting a baseball. I can go out to my driveway and shoot jumpers, okay? I could never imagine myself doing what those guys do on Sunday.
We can't do that. We wouldn't do it. We don't do it. Part of its appeal is its danger. It's an insanity. But can I ask you the question? Seattle, Jacksonville, if I turn this all on its head, because what this week is going to be is the NFL and ESPN and Fox all working in television partnerships to broadcast with very stern tones how it is that you shouldn't throw things at the players and the players shouldn't react that way, and the league will come down hard on all because that is the moral and the right way to be. But can you imagine if we flipped it and we made it pro wrestling and we embraced what happened in Seattle or in Jacksonville yesterday? If we embraced it the way the XFL was trying to embrace it, instead of selling us family purity on Sundays, we're family friendly when you're not, man.
Right.
You're not family friendly. I saw what happened to Nathan Peterman. You could be with your kids watching the snow and look, kids, look how great it is, the snow. It's funny. But that dude's brain got scrambled on ice, man, and he might have an ice pick in his brain for all I know after playing in that game.
But it's safe.
But if you're going to make it the gladiator spectacle, the barbaric thing that it is, can you imagine how cool it would be if they embraced that? Yes, we are the gods of today. We are more violent than you. You should be scared at us. You throw a beer at us, there had better be a giant wall between you and I, for my rage will bring you tumbling down for your disrespect. I know I made a Game of Thrones.
No, I'll settle for them speaking that way in interviews.
Yeah, it'd be totally
Russell Wilson
fine.
could say nothing, but if he says it that way...
It'd be more interesting. I think you're right. Yes.
But can you imagine? Like, it's not going to happen. But don't you think, all right, let me ask you this question. How would you feel about that right now?
Both teams put forth a solid effort. We played 60 minutes.
Wait a minute, you're just LeVar Ball. Yeah. I was being an old gladiator.
Really? Undefeated, never lost.
Yeah, it is. Game of Thrones is my LeVar Ball.
Yeah. I was being an old soldier. Why were you LeVar Ball there?
It's the same voice.
I am undefeated, never lost.
Yeah,
weird, man.
Same voice.
Don Le Batard.
Michael Jordan never scored 70 in a game.
No, but he scored 60-something in a legendary playoff game that they won.
Stugotz.
They lost.
Did they really?
They lost, yeah.
Wow, breaking news.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
I don't understand how it's possible that Josh Gordon can go from years without playing football and being high and being addicted to stuff to stepping onto a field and being the single most athletic person on it.
Playing on that team, too. I mean, with those quarterbacks.
That's another game I would have sent off to that amusement park land into a different orbit of crud where I would send all of yesterday's bad football game.
Well, that was a big game for your favorite football player. So, no, I would have kept that game right here on Earth. The Packers needed that
but
game.
It was just such crud football.
It was terrible, but the Packers got a victory, and now it's set up for Aaron Rodgers to come in and save the day. Take him to the Super Bowl.
All right, so this person is writing in about violence. Bleep, Le Batard, enough with the bashing of football. Don't watch it then, especially since it's not even the most violent sport.
You don't get the show.
I wasn't complaining about football the first half hour of this national show. I was celebrating it. That's the stuff I love about football. But that's also football's moral conundrum, that the stuff they love that makes it wildly entertaining to me is something that they're trying to eradicate from their sport unsuccessfully.
Right. I mean, they kind of have to, right? Put out that message. Whatever message they're putting out here recently is the message. Because, Dan, anyone who watches the sport, who loves the sport, who is our age, they know how violent it is. They know.
Okay, but imagine, though, if all of that were produced the way that the WWE produces things. So we've got this sound here. Mike, how long is this Jeff Brom sound?
It's 20 seconds long, courtesy of the WWE.
Okay, now, so I have to set the stage for you, right? Because this is a bunch of montages where they're showing an incredibly violent hit in the XFL. And Jeff Brom, again, I'm going to describe this for you. He's a quarterback, and he's laying on his back, and his nose should be in the sky. but his helmet is sideways, totally sideways. So you see the ear hole where his nose should be, and the nose is splattered. And he doesn't look like he can move. Like he looks like rigor mortis is set in. And so the announcers are marveling, how is it possible that this man is going to play again in 6 days? He's walking around with a neck brace. I'm certain that he wouldn't have passed anyone's concussion protocol. And this is what happened.
Jeff Brom, how in the world are you starting this game tonight after taking that hit just 6 days ago?
Well, let me answer that question by asking you two questions. One, is this or is this not the XFL? Yes, it is. Two, do I or do I not currently have a pulse? Yes, I do. Let's play football.
Yeah.
I'm saying, if you go into that locker room yesterday and instead of this guy, Jefferson, who has to be contrite and apologize but also say, you're not going to disrespect me. If instead he was standing in front of his locker, damn straight, I almost went up into the stands. Throw something else to get me. Throw out something else at me again and see if both teams aren't climbing up there next time.
Right. But it'd be more entertaining, certainly, yes. And you'd be embracing what it is you actually are.
Right. That's exactly right, which is my only objection. Well, I don't love how unhealthy it's been and disguised as lies, but my only objection about football, my largest one, I guess, would be that. Just quit lying to us about what it is, man. It's unbelievably unhealthy. And at its unhealthiest, it's also the most fun.
That Jeff Brom clip jacked me up. How is Purdue not so much better?
But, Mike, because everything on television this week is going to be about, is the league in crisis? But all of this is content. It only becomes crisis because we treat it as crisis instead of as entertainment.
You think that's going to be conversation this week? Really?
No, the conversation this week is going to be about castigating. Should fans throw things at people? How should athletes behave when fans throw things at people? And
I don't know. I'd kind of react the same way the athlete reacted if someone threw a beer at me, right?
I remember I told you this. This is a story. I don't know. Maybe it was written in one of those books about ESPN is it Jim Miller? I don't want to get the name wrong. Miller is the author of the books about ESPN, the Chronicles of ESPN. Now I got stuck on the name. And he writes about what was I talking about? I lost my place.
The ESPN book. It's James Miller, by the way. It's fun.
Yeah, no, it's not fun.
That's what I was worried about.
Yeah,
see, this is what I was worried about.
Jim Miller's a quarterback, former quarterback for the Bears. Yeah.
It's Jim Miller. He goes by Jim.
Well,
did you know that that's short for James?
The story that I was telling was about after the Malice in the Palace, after Ron Artest and Steven Jackson climbed into the stands. The coverage that night, Stugotz, by Stephen A. Smith, I think John Saunders, a couple of others, the coverage that rained down from ESPN in one voice was, don't throw things at the players. Don't throw things at the players. And then I turned on my television the following day, and those same guys were on television saying something very different because a call had been made by the former president of this company saying that's not how we're going to talk about that because we're partners with the league and you just had players punching fans. We're not all going to start ripping the customers on television. So what I saw the night before was one set of opinions, and then what I saw the following morning was a different set of opinions. And I was like, wait a minute. How did that happen and why did that happen? It happened because all of these parties are working together to castigate the entertainment, to wag a finger at don't throw at the player, don't react that way, which is only the most obvious thing in the world. But once it happens, if you're Jeff Brom, if you've got Jeff Brom's attitude, wouldn't sports be more fun? Be vastly more unsportsmanlike, but I don't want Brian McCann as commissioner of all sports.
You want sports to be fun.
I prefer Vince McMahon as my commissioner of sports, or Dana White, or Conor McGregor, or Don King. I know those guys are impure, not Goodell. He's all these people, but he's in a suit that's starch. He's not even made out of human things. It's just an assortment of.
Stugotz here for 1-800-Flowers. There are many memories that top the excitement of waking up on Christmas morning. Now that we're older, you can still capture a piece of that joy by surprising everyone on your list with peppermint roses from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order 12 peppermint roses for only $29.99, 1-800-Flowers will give you an extra half dozen and a vase absolutely free. That's up to 40% off the original price. Peppermint roses are the perfect holiday surprise for the special people on your list. This beautiful bouquet in a rush of holiday white and red roses will leave your loved one stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Amazing roses at an unbeatable price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 12 peppermint roses for only $29.99, plus another half dozen roses and a vase for free is an unreal deal, but it expires Wednesday. There's 1-800-Flowers.com, and then there's everybody else. You know who I trust and depend on for life's most important moments. To order 12 peppermint roses for $29.99, plus another half dozen roses and a vase for free, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Dan. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Dan. Hurry, offer expires Wednesday.
With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of discovering the last donut.
Ooh.
And it has your name on it, literally, in chocolate sprinkly things.
No way.
Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
Dan Le Batard.
I feel like everything we just did was racially insensitive, and I'm good with it.
Stugotz.
It is deadline day.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So, a person is writing here on Twitter at Le Batard Show. My timeline proves that I get the show, but the number of segments over the past 6 shows dedicated to bashing the NFL is getting so old. Guys, I don't understand what you're hearing. What am I doing wrong? Like, this was not a bashing of the NFL. The NFL was in its glory yesterday. Like, I really enjoyed that Sunday football yesterday. What am I doing wrong here?
Well, what you're saying is, I'm not saying that you're wrong. You have said it often, and that's fine. And by the way, Alan Trammell was a shortstop, not a second baseman, before all the vultures come in.
Lou Whitaker,
yes,
was the second baseman. I'm becoming that show now.
Yes, and I'm not blaming anyone.
I'm becoming that show as I morph into Mike Francesa.
Yes.
Hey, you know who the Tigers' second baseman was in the early 90s? Kid by the name of Whitaker.
It was the 80s, but who's keeping track?
Well, that's the part of that's
probably
important.
Fine, but whatever. I mean, yeah, they went 35-5 that one year. I think they won the World Series in '84. So you were off by a decade. Where were we? What were we talking about? I forget.
That was the '80s. Lou Whitaker.
Yes, '84.
We were talking about sweet Lou Whitaker is where we ended up on this Monday after a great football Sunday.
What's going on here is you're saying the NFL should just embrace what it is that they are. And I agree with you. It comes off as just do it that way and don't look back, meaning don't take measures to try to make this game safer for the players, because that is important.
No, but I was just talking.
I'm not saying that's what you're saying. It comes off like that a little bit.
I was just saying within the spirit of Jacksonville-Seattle Sunday and the other day, Pittsburgh playing against Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to something again, if you had to guess, the first person that used one of those flying squirrel suits, did they live? If you had to guess. Like sometimes people die in the experimenting of invention.
Right.
And that's why one of the many reasons you got to salute the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers got up there.
Took some stones, man.
Stones. Those Wright brothers have stones. We should now call them, instead of stones, Wright brothers. He's got big Wright brothers. Seriously. Like the first person to jump off a cliff in one of those flying squirrel suits by Red Bull, or I don't think they're by Red Bull, but they're always sponsored by Red Bull. And they fly down this mountain. And I saw this the other day and I was horrified. I spent the entire time horrified, thinking that something was going to come in the sky and hit one of the people in the face. They're going 200 miles an hour. I think they're going 200 miles an hour. They're falling.
I'm not sure. It's called base jumping, isn't it?
No, but it's not. Man, I can't explain what this thing is. They jump from a cliff. The video I saw the other day was just 10 people jumping like lemmings off a cliff, opening their arms, and then the suits become these flying vessels that they use. And what I'm asking you is the first person who did that. Did that person live? That person has to have died.
He did. He did, yeah.
He lived or he died?
No, he died.
Oh, he did.
He died. He tried jumping off the Eiffel Tower. Didn't work out.
Oh!
It was in 1912.
Okay. So how many people after that, though? Like, you don't
want
with
a cape, though?
He had he built his flying squirrel suit,
right?
Wait a minute. I mean, is this a
You
cape?
thought it was
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the Red Bull cape. The Red Bull does have a cape. I think they have a cape.
Wait a minute. They're more like wings, Stugotz. A cape? You've got them being superheroes? I mean, what they're doing does look super heroic. In fact, I can't think of anything humans do that looks more super heroic than this particular thing I'm describing.
Yeah, he had a parachute with him just in case things didn't go well. Things didn't go well. It only sort of half deployed, and it didn't turn out well. He's a French dude.
Well, he's dead, Mike.
Yeah.
That is the way that you would do that, though. That's a good move. Because I hadn't considered that. When I was asking the question, the first guy who did it, I hadn't thought that in an emergency he would have a parachute. That would help. Although in this instance, it did not, apparently.
I'm looking at his suit right now. Much different than the ones that actually work.
Find the second person who tried this. I'm saying you're going to find hundreds of people before we got it right.
I'm just going to Google first successful
but do you even understand,
flying squirrel suit.
Do you even understand these parkour people? Do you understand? What I'm asking you guys is, because I am not a thrill seeker.
These are not parkour people.
No. I'm talking about something different.
Do you know what parkour is?
Yes, I know what parkour is. What I'm saying to you, these people it is sort of it's just sort of gymnastics on a...
How is he trying to spell parkour?
Yeah, okay. It's not important.
I'm working on successful right now for the squirrel jumper. I don't know how to spell squirrel either.
All right.
This is bad.
All right. Don't look anything else up and just listen to the show for a minute. All right? Stop using all of that brain power to misspell words there and concentrate your brain power here, right here.
Okay.
Parkour is sort of like, you've seen the James Bond Casino Royale movie where people are like they're running away from each other for 10 minutes and they're climbing on buildings and scaffoldings and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
The people who take these pictures in perilous positions, you read these stories all the time. Guy dies trying to take selfie, hanging to the bottom of a cliff. Who are these people? Do you know any of them? I don't feel like any of these people are in my life. They are the same sort of thrill seekers, right? To be that flippant about life. I get scared. All these videos I see of people doing parkour or doing handstands on the edge of a building.
Right.
150 stories in the sky. And I'm like, why would you do that? Am I alone with this?
No, you're not alone. I've often thought about it. I just figured, hey, they're thrill seeking. That's what they do. That's what they love. They get off on thrill seeking, on doing stuff like that. And they're trying to outdo each other. And they always have a GoPro on.
But yes, because they want the attention for what it is that they're doing. But unlike football, which I would never do because it looks like it would hurt too much, I still enjoy watching it. Some of this stuff with buildings and stuff, I get scared and I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch any of it because I feel like they're disrespecting the precious gift of life.
So I got more.
No, and it offends me. I'm not even kidding you.
Really?
Even if I know that I wouldn't be watching the video unless the person was totally safe about doing it.
It's their life, though.
I know, but I don't love how flippant they are. If they're going to be that flippant with their youth, sell some of it to me. I'll buy it from you.
They would argue that you could walk across the street and have a greater chance of getting killed doing that than doing what they're doing. They would argue that. I'm telling you, they would argue that.
Have you always noticed that there's also a story that follows about what a bright future these people would have? Clearly not. Why can't it just say this person died, they were an idiot?
Right. Why? What bright future would this person have had with this kind of judgment? Falling from a skyscraper because you were trying to get 4 Instagram likes.
So, and I had more on this wingsuit. In 1912, that dude Franz, he jumped to his death. He landed skull first.
Wow!
God.
You might want to start with something lower than the Eiffel Tower.
Or higher, no?
Higher would probably have
in this particular instance, higher. Stugotz, higher. Wait a minute. What just happened?
Higher.
Hold on a second. You realize that the parachute would have had even more trouble deploying. Did we just stump Stugotz on physics?
I'm saying like off a curve.
Math? Did we just stump Stugotz on physics or math there?
I think both. Yeah. First successful use of a wingsuit, though, happened several years later. This first attempt was in 1912. The first successful one was in 1933. By 1930. By an American. We did it.
Look at the mustache on that guy.
Nice.
Or is that Franz? Was that Franz?
That was Franz that they showed on television.
Rest in peace.
Franz. Wow. Unbelievable that his death from the Eiffel Tower would be the second most egregious judgment error in his life, following only that mustache that he chose to wear on his face.
But Rex Finney did it in 1930 as a 19-year-old American.
As of 2010, they have jet-powered wingsuits. Wow. Kind of takes away the whole thing
That's
from it, right?
cheating, yeah.
Well, wait a minute. The things that I'm watching are jet-powered?
No,
I haven't even seen one of the jet-powered ones yet. That'd be pretty gnarly.
Would you do that?
No.
Jet-powered, though.
No, none of these things. I'm afraid to watch them.
I'd pay so much money.
Me squeezing into one of these suits? Hey, Stugotz, I'm having a midlife crisis. Watch me jump off this cliff.
You don't need the suit. You already have the flaps.
Payday! Payday! It is payday!
I don't even get the joke. Flab suit?
You didn't get it?
What's the joke?
Your arms are fat. I clear it up?
Thank you. Thank you for clearing it up.
Don Le Batard.
Marriage at some point, I think for a lot of people, they get down to, and this is really a sad part about marriage, where you're just having sex one day a week. And that one day a week is Sunday. And so I love Sundays, but I hate everything I have to do leading up till Sunday, which is essentially agree with everything my wife says and does everything she asks me to do. And I'm only doing that for the Sundays. Because if I don't do it, there ain't no Sundays. And I can't live without my Sundays.
Stugotz.
I wonder if Abby hates Sundays.
Oh, she despises them.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz, have you seen, before we get to weekend observations, have you seen the video that's gone viral here of this kid, Keaton Jones, who was being bullied at school?
No, I have not.
All right, it went viral this week, and we'll play the sound for the people later in the show. And before I've even gotten to talk about it, Stugotz, already, it is a feel-good story because sports and people rallied around this kid who was blubbering, really sad about how he's been bullied. And a lot of people, LeBron James, a bunch of people have come out moved by it. You know, parents can understand how helpless it feels to see your child bullied.
Sure.
His mother videotaped it, and before I can even get to the story, it's already being reported that the mother has some stuff in her past that's race related, and it's like, wait a minute, can we slow down?
Man.
Slow down, just let me enjoy the story for a second.
Right.
And now we're digging around in her past. But anyways, before we get to that story, let's do Stugotz's weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations are brought to you by Metro PCS. Choose 4 free phones from brands like Samsung, LG, and Motorola when you switch 4 lines to Metro PCS. Sales tax not included. Not valid for numbers currently on the T-Mobile network. Dan, the Golden State Warriors are better without Steph Curry. Derek Jeter's top 3 Yankee moments. Number 3, the flip against the A's. Number 2, the dive against the Red Sox. And the new number 1, the heist against the Marlins. Derek Jeter, more like Derek Cheater.
Wow.
Jeets, more like cheats.
Right, yeah.
Rob Manfred, you allowed this. You allowed a man to purchase a team with no money, no experience, and apparently no integrity, simply because his name is Derek Jeter. And for that, you should be ashamed of yourself. What happened there? You didn't like the integrity line? I mean, this guy has come down here and done nothing right. He has fired luminaries. He has fired people who are on their deathbed. He has fired sick people, Dan, and he hasn't done it himself. You know who he has do it? He has David Sampson, the former Marlins president. He has him doing his dirty work. Zero integrity. I sense you agree with me now.
No.
Oh, you think he has integrity?
Just keep it moving.
All right. Dan thinks he has integrity.
That Derek Jeter doesn't. Stugotz thinks he doesn't have integrity.
He doesn't. He's the captain, all right. The captain of all the other people who are pulling wool over people's eyes. Good luck with jersey sales in Miami when your last name is Castro. We need to throw a parade to bring Jeffrey Loria back. The Browns are better without Sashi Brown. The Giants are worse with Eli Manning. Ben McAdoo was right. The 49ers have found their quarterback. I want to say that one day the Patriots will regret trading Jimmy Garoppolo, but they won't. Good chance Brady and Garoppolo will be in the same Hall of Fame class.
No, Garoppolo's going to die of natural causes, and Brady's still going to have a 20-1 interception to touchdown.
I'm telling you, Jimmy Graps is the real deal. That guy is good. I'm telling you, John Lynch, he's going to go into the Hall of Fame as an executive simply because he got Jimmy Graps. He's that good. I've watched him the last 2 weeks. The 49ers have found their quarterback. The Kansas City Chiefs are back. Rare is the running back that possesses both thunder and lightning.
Wow.
Todd Gurley is one of the few. Doug Peterson going for it on 4th and goal. Down 4 in the third quarter. Stones. Nice of the Bills.
Right, brother.
Nice of the Bills to wear the red jerseys against the Colts to honor Jim Irsay's face. It's amazing. Even in a blizzard and temperatures of 15 below zero, the color of Jim Irsay's face doesn't change. Also, not the first time he's been surrounded by that much white powder. To the people who attended the Bills, what happened there? I mean, it's not the first time, and perhaps it won't be the last time. I said perhaps there. To the people who attended the Bills-Colts game yesterday, why? Chuck Pagano tried to tell you a storm was coming. Pagano thinks he's living out the Bill Murray movie, Groundhog Day. Pretty soon, he's going to be living out Aloha. Perhaps my joke was lost in translation. What I'm trying to say is Chuck Pagano is getting fired because he was the man who knew too little.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Josh Gordon, speaking of good, is good. Christ, my wife just asked me who that is, and that who is Sean McVay. Case closed. It's time to bring back Teddy Bridgewater. Derek Jeter will be the first Yankee to get 2 monuments in Monument Park. One as a player and one as an executive. Jared Goff one up. I almost screwed that up, Mike. You notice that? Jared Goff one up. Jameis Winston ate another L. Dan, the evil empire, is back. Aaron Boone, welcome to the world of expectations. Philadelphia Eagles, never has a team lost so much while winning. The Eagles' Super Bowl chances came and went. Steelers, Brady, made it out of their own stadium alive. Barely, that was. Made it out of their own stadium
not Brady,
alive.
Not Brady.
It wasn't supposed to be Brady.
It was barely became Brady.
Yes.
Steelers, Brady.
Yes.
Made it out of their stadium.
Well, I had a Steelers Brady, just to defend myself, I had a Steelers Brady game note in there, and Mike took it out, and I went back to that one, and he took it out because it was a bad one.
Yeah, it wasn't finished. It was just Steelers Brady.
No, it was Roethlisberger Brady, one for the ageless.
No,
and it was bad, and he took it out.
You forgot to finish that line.
Yeah. Anyway, Steelers barely made it out of their own stadium alive. Ben Roethlisberger threw for damn near a third of a mile last night. I don't have a joke here. The Ravens secondary was the joke. The Yankees have a better offensive line than the Jets and Giants. Somewhere during overtime of Bills-Colts, Chris Forrester tried to snort his television. Steelers, Ravens, one for the ages. That's where I was going to go. Steelers, Patriots, one for the ageless. But Mike took it out because that joke was bad.
And so now we've done it 3 times.
Yeah, Ripken, Favre, AC Green, and Scott Hansen's bladder. All great streaks must come to an end. Hell of a run, Scott. Packers getting hot and healthy at the right time. Derek Jeter, Mr. November, and Mr. December. I wonder if Oklahoma City would trade Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to the Pacers for Victor Oladipo. Giancarlo Stanton, when you take your next stroll down the easy path, make sure you say hello to Kevin Durant. And know this, any World Series you win with the Yankees won't count as a World Series win for you in my personal record book. Overpay to own a Major League Baseball team and trade your best player to your former team, the team and the city that matters most to you. Awfully long way to win back the new popularity contest from A-Rod. John Fox said he expects the Bears to fire him. John, that's a reasonable expectation. Pretty sure Tariq Cohen is tired of Fox's spiel. Speaking of Tariq Cohen, he averaged 6.66 yards per carry. That's the kind of stat line Art Briles loves seeing when he's watching his football in hell.
Don Le Batard.
And finally, an unearthed letter from Tupac to Madonna reveals that he broke up with Madge in part because of a comment she made about rehabilitating rappers and because he feared his fans wouldn't accept him dating a white woman.
Stugotz.
Woman.
What did I say?
Women.
Oh, woman.
You always make the singular plural.
I don't know why I do that.
You always make the plural singular.
Yeah. So it's white woman. Bingo.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So Carson Wentz is out, and any analysis that you had about the first 12 weeks of the football season don't matter. Whoever you thought was best, none of that matters. It's who's healthiest at the end.
You said that for so many years. It is who's healthiest at the end. I mean, I'm not saying the Eagles can't get far in the playoffs without Carson Wentz, but they're not winning the Super Bowl.
One of the things I marvel about football is how much luck goes into all of this stuff where these people are trying to contain so many of the results. For example, Stugotz, I'm always talking to you about how heavy-handed coaches are, how fearful they are while demanding discipline of others. The way the Steelers played at the end of that game last night, why don't they play like that all the time? Because it feels reckless. They've got so many weapons. Why don't the Steelers play, let's go with 500 yards of bend football?
Right.
Like, let's just attack. We're going to throw the ball 66 times today. Like, we're going to go crazy. Like,
well, he's the first to post 3 500-yard games in his career. I mean, you can't really. Obviously, you have that in your arsenal.
No, but
then you can go to it when you need it. But Le'Veon Bell is like you want to establish that.
No, but I'm saying they throw to him plenty too, and you can establish it handing it to him. I'm just saying that in general, what you see from the Pittsburgh Steelers is a neutered version of themselves because even though it's a great offense and they've got those great skills players, because they're still playing a little bit scared, what happens at the end of that game last night is you become so panicked and desperate that reckless stops mattering.
Right.
You're taking risk all over the place.
Yeah, of course you are. You're right. You have to. You have no choice.
But what I'm saying is...
Do it all the time.
Yes.
Right.
I think the next market correction in this sport where someone explores an inefficiency is someone will try, and maybe they'll fail, to go in there and play the way Texas Tech does. I know that Chip Kelly was trying it. He failed. But Chip Kelly was trying to get that. Maybe the field just doesn't allow for it. It's not big enough. The athlete's too big and strong. It can't be done.
It's fun to watch when it's going on, though. I mean, when the Steelers are that desperate and reckless, it's kind of like with the Warriors when they're down like 8, late in the fourth quarter, and watching them trying to climb back into the game is always fun to watch. Watching that Steeler team, it's just chaotic.
Well, but here's what I would say to you. Stugotz. Which Steeler team do you think has the better chance against the Patriots? The one at the end of the game last night, or the one the Steelers have been trotting out there again and again, neutered and, comparatively risk-free?
I mean, that Steeler team is 11-2, but to your point, they have not been successful against Tom Brady and the Patriots.
They've never been successful against that team, and the Patriots are
just
out
go
there.
Wing it everywhere.
What I'm saying to you is there is a team out there playing that way offensively. It's the Patriots.
Right.
So imagine now Belichick with the pieces that Tomlin has. My guess is that he would be playing a style of ball that makes the running back largely irrelevant. He would take advantage of the skill set that he has because the Patriots are basically playing all the time the way the Steelers played the last.
But you're saying he'd throw the ball even more to Le'Veon Bell.
The reason the Patriots were able to come back from 28-3 in the Super Bowl against the Falcons is because they play that way all the time.
Right. But is that what you're saying?
I'm talking speed and go. Let's go. Let's
because
move.
I think
our offense is good. Let's get an advantage by running 100 plays.
I think it was Collinsworth last night saying that if Le'Veon Bell played wide receiver, he'd be a number one wide receiver and be very good. You're saying Belichick would play more to the player's strengths than what Tomlin's doing right now.
Well, clearly. I mean, Belichick does it
he got the ball he had 9 catches.
Belichick does it better than anybody. Belichick, man, look, you guys explain this to me. Somebody explain this to me, okay? Where else does this happen in this sport? At the beginning of this season, it looked like the Patriots' defense was going to be bad. You were never worried. Why? Because that coach was going to figure it out. Give me all the other examples in that sport of something like that happens, where you see something for 3 weeks that you think is bad that then is good. Because now the Patriots' defense is good all of a sudden. And what you saw at the beginning of the season, the Patriots' offense is always good. But what you saw at the beginning of the season was a market improvement. We've seen a market improvement from that. Who else in the league do you trust where you're watching 2 or 3 games, you see something that you think is bad, and you believe that that's going to get turned around just because he's got a magic wand?
Not in that sport. Maybe with LeBron and bad stretches of play from his teams.
When you've got a monster talent. It never happens with a monster mind. Yeah, if you've got a monster talent, you can go from playing terrible defense to playing adequate defense. But I'm talking about specifically what happens with the Patriots, where you did not doubt that team and any other team in the history of the sport. If you would look at that defense through 2 or 3 games, you would have said they're not going to be good at defense this year.
Right.
That they might get to average, they might get to better. They're not going to be good, but the Patriots are good again. Who the bleep else does that?
I'm trying to think of.
And not only does it, but does it with just a random collection of practice players like Teddy Bruschi and Vrabel. Like they may be excellent players, or they may have been molded into that. And if they'd played in Cleveland, you never would have remembered them in any meaningful way.
I mean, maybe Saban at the college level or Pete Carroll, maybe. I don't know.
No, but that's the thing. No, see, that's the thing. You can't do it with Saban either because you don't go from Saban's defenses are bad to they're good. You know he's always got the best athletes.
Right.
But when everything else is equal, what's happened with the Patriots this year, you knew going into the season, Stugotz, that the Jacksonville defense was good, and it was good all season.
Right.
And maybe here and there the Jacksonville offense will surprise you, but you know that the Jacksonville offense isn't really good and that you can't trust their quarterback. That's not going to change. With the Patriots, those things change.
Do you get that with Popovich at all?
I mean, he's got the players. He's not doing it with...
He doesn't have players right now.
I mean...
he has no players right now. He has 0 players on his roster.
He's also never had the struggle. I've never had a reason to doubt Greg Popovich just because they've never given us a reason to doubt.
Guillermo's useless sound montage is next.
Don Le Batard.
Aaron Rodgers, can you give me an example of, if we were scientifically testing your accuracy, something that you could do that's ridiculous, that people don't understand the accuracy of it?
Stugotz.
Did you see the 2 Hail Marys last year?
Wow, well played, man.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We're going to get to Guillermo's useless sound montage in a second, but some of you are writing in, what are you talking about, Le Batard? Look at some of the Patriots' defensive rankings. Their defensive rankings still stink, and it's because of how bad they were at the beginning of the season. Listen to this from Danny Kelly at The Ringer, Stugotz. This is the stuff that doesn't – this is what makes the Patriots terrifying, this more than anything else. Through 4 weeks, New England was 2-2 and had surrendered 32 points per game, worst in the league. And a league worst, 1,827 scrimmage yards, nearly 300 more than the next worst defense in the league, the Colts. The Pats had given up a league worst 1,300 pass yards, were tied for a league worst 11 touchdown passes allowed, were giving up a second worst 5.1 yards per carry, and had surrendered 531 total rushing yards. That's beyond terrible, Stugotz.
Yep.
That's as bad as anything you will ever see from a defense. Fast forward 9 weeks, he writes, and the early season concern that an uncharacteristic, historically bad Patriots defense would foil New England's shot at its 6th championship has been squashed. Listen to this. You ready?
Yep.
The Patriots have won 8 in a row, and in that stretch, the defense has given up just 11.8 points per game, best of any team in the league.
The only thing I would say to counter that is schedule got a lot easier. Those first 4 games is Chiefs, Saints, Texans with Deshaun Watson, and the Carolina Panthers.
That's an enormous difference from worst to best.
I know.
Historically bad to best.
I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying since then, they haven't played many good teams. They played a lot of teams inside the AFC East, and we know they're not very good. Certainly they don't have good offenses. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting to see how the Patriots look against the Steelers' offense, the defense looks against that Steelers' offense, and how the Patriots' defense looks against really good offenses in the playoffs. It's a big difference.
He continues to write, the Patriots' defensive turnaround hasn't been the result of major scheme overhauls or the infusion of any big-time playmakers. Instead, incremental improvements in every area across the board have helped that unit transform into something respectable. No one's going to confuse this group with the Ravens or Jags' star-studded defense, and they still rank just 29th in Football Outsiders DVOA, something that FO editor Aaron Schatz has discussed in detail here. But compared with the unit we watched early in the year, this group is more disciplined, communicates better, and has simply gotten cleaner performances from its most important role players. The point with them, as always, is they improve. While Wentz goes down and injuries happen elsewhere, the Patriots over the course of a season get better, no matter their injuries.
Well, they do, and the guy that you most want to stay healthy is always healthy.
Right, but
yes.
they never swoon, Stugotz. They never swoon. They don't have. When do the Patriots have a bad December? When do the Patriots head into the playoffs not getting better? It doesn't, like, what they've figured out, and it's one of the many things that I want to know about that team's secrets, is they have figured out over the course of a season to make injuries not matter. How the bleep? Who? Philadelphia just had its season ruined yesterday.
Right. Well, they lost the most important guy.
You know what I mean, though?
But, right, I know.
Like,
but
maybe Nick Foles makes it to the Super Bowl, but come on.
The one time they had the injury that they couldn't have, they went 11-5 with it.
Right.
Like,
I mean, yeah, you lose Edelman.
Injuries don't matter when the Patriots suffer them.
You lose Edelman, you lose Gronk for periods each season, for stretches of games. So yeah, it's very impressive. I'm tired of them. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm just tired of the Patriots. I'm tired of everything about.
But I wonder, given the specifics of what they do, they score and we say Brady, 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 Brady. They are playing so fast and so precisely. Stugotz, when you talk about these precisions, the difference between the Rams and the Eagles yesterday this is the difference between those two teams yesterday. Alshon Jeffrey's fingertips. He caught a ball on 4th down that most human beings don't catch with their fingertips, and it changed the game. That there was no difference between those two teams. Those two teams were playing, and there was a result at the end. There was a random result at the end.
But pretty much the same team.
Either team could have won. Mm-hmm. Why and how are the Patriots always that team? Always, and it doesn't matter who the players are. They're playing so precisely, and they're running down the field, and they've figured out we are so good at offense that we're going to run more plays than everybody else because we're going to maximize the fact that we're better at this than everybody, and we're going to just crush everybody. And people think it's Brady, but no, they're playing all the time the way the Steelers were at the end of the game. 4th down? Sure, we'll go for it. 4th and short? Yeah, that doesn't scare us. You're going to give our offense more downs to get 10 yards?
They play desperate and frantic pretty much the entire game.
Wait a minute. 4th and 2. 4th and 2. Tom Brady? Okay. Yeah, I'd rather do that than bring my kicker out. I'm not going to take Tom Brady off the field. Like, all the plays, you see all these goal lines plays, Stugotz? Every damn team in the league is trying to get to 3rd and 2. Every team in the league is trying to get from 2nd and 4, 2nd and 6 to 3rd and 2 because they've all got plays that work for 3 yards. All the Patriots plays are that. All the Patriots plays are their best plays, and what they're doing is what the Warriors were doing when they changed the math. The Patriots have in that offense the most consistent thing in the sport. It hums like nothing else in that sport. And they just run as many plays as they can with it. And they always scored. They look crappy against the Bills, and they still put up 23. They look terrible all game, and they're putting up a point total where you're like, that was terrible. And Tennessee and Arizona both would have needed to double what they did yesterday to get what the Patriots, like Arizona and Tennessee are what the Patriots discard in the toilet. Like when they're done consuming the league.
The Patriots crap Titans.
Yes. I was trying to do it slightly more subtly.
Well, just for the people out there who didn't understand what Dan was trying to say, because I was one of them for a second until I finally dawned on me what it is he was trying to say. I wanted to explain it to them. Just hammer it home.
You understand what I'm saying, though. The larger. Well,
now
point,
I do, yeah, and everyone else does.
The
Patriots crap Titans.
Go ahead and put it on the poll, Guillermo. Do the Patriots crap Titans and Cardinals? I told you the useless sound montage was going to be next, but I kind of got sidetracked by making what I thought was, an illuminating Monday analysis that you can't find anywhere else in sports, because that's why they pay us to bring unique and different content. And so we just spent a segment telling you that the Patriots are good.
Stugotz here for 1-800-Flowers. There are many memories that top the excitement of waking up on Christmas morning. Now that we're older, you can still capture a piece of that joy by surprising everyone on your list with peppermint roses from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order 12 peppermint roses for only $29.99, 1-800-Flowers will give you an extra half dozen and a vase absolutely free. That's up to 40% off the original price. Peppermint roses are the perfect holiday surprise for the special people on your list. This beautiful bouquet in a rush of holiday white and red roses will leave your loved one stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Amazing roses at an unbeatable price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 12 peppermint roses for only $29.99, plus another half dozen roses and a vase for free is an unreal deal, but it expires Wednesday. There's 1-800-Flowers.com, and then there's everybody else. You know who I trust and depend on for life's most important moments. To order 12 peppermint roses for $29.99, plus another half dozen roses and a vase for free, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Dan. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Dan. Hurry, offer expires Wednesday.
Hello, the Internet. It's Jack O'Brien, the founder and former editor-in-chief of Crack.com and the host of the new comedic news podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist, which, as the name suggests, is daily and sporadically in German. If you like Cracked, How Stuff Works podcasts and want to get your news from some of the smartest and funniest comedic and journalistic minds around, well then, this show is going to make you all over the place.
Yeah, I don't think we can use that.
Sure we can. Go to Apple Podcasts to listen and subscribe.
Don Le Batard.
That ranks up there as the most humbling moment in my life.
Stugotz.
That and getting so drunk on white wine on a date one time that I pooped in a parking lot.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Did I just say that out loud? That was last week.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton is not happy that the NFL hired former Saints employee Mike Cerullo, the whistleblower who helped start the NFL's investigation into the team levying boundaries for big hits. The USGA and RNA.
Bounties.
What did I say?
Boundaries.
Sorry about that.
You were worried about levying?
Levying was a tough one. I thought it was leveraging because I love to leverage, and it was levying, but I'm glad I got levying right, but I got boundaries wrong. It's bounties.
Levying sounds how I would say the name for the Steelers running back. I'd get fined for it.
Bell?
Levying Bell.
The USGA and RNA also said only video from its tournament telecast, not smartphones or other videos from fans, can be used as evidence of a violation, making it tougher for fans to call in if they think they've seen a violation on TV.
What are you guys laughing about?
Why does it always sound like Stugotz is being called in the middle of class to read something?
Because he doesn't read anything beforehand because his retention and absorption is terrible.
Help me. No, I mean,
you always sound like you're reading poorly. You don't even sound. It's not merely most broadcasters don't sound like they're reading. You always sound like you're reading.
I don't really care what other broadcasters
poorly.
Sound like. Right. I only care about this broadcaster and that broadcaster, and I'm pointing at you right now. But the USGA and RNA also said. What do you mean also said? this is written like it's a follow-up story to a previous story, and there is no other story. So I am thrown off by all. I mean, you can blame me all you want, and I'm not going to blame anyone else by name, but there is someone I should be blaming for why it sounds like I'm reading all the time, so they don't write the way I read.
That's an excellent point.
Thank you.
It's also a fine.
Yes, it is.
Well, for what? I didn't blame anyone.
You are blaming him for you reading.
Blaming who? I didn't say anyone by name.
Yeah, but you're blaming someone else.
Someone else.
All right. Well, I got no money.
That's also fine.
That's also fine. So now you're up to $2.
I owe $2 because I don't have. Right. I mean, someone wrote my update poorly. And I don't have money.
No, and if we learn that you do indeed have cash, then it becomes $3. If you get fined for all those things, so now you're going to have to turn your pockets inside out. Now you're going to have to stand up.
Listen to me.
No.
The not bringing of money is on me. This update,
stand up.
It's on Roy.
Stand up. I know it's on Roy. Stand up. Empty your pockets. Am I going to have to bring somebody in here to frisk him?
A shakedown?
We can bring in the security guard.
Keep an eye on him. Look at him. He's trying to slip right out.
He's got plenty of money.
Oh, I have money. I didn't realize that because
$3.
I just paid for Mike's lunch and I didn't realize that
$3.
That Chris gave me the change back.
$3. So you are fined. Okay,
$3 for Roy's mistake.
This is the fine system that we have in place here. The fine system is that you get fined whenever you make a mistake and blame it on someone else. So that's $1. You get fined whenever it is you get fined and you don't have any money or claim you don't have any money. That's another $1. And then you get fined when it is that you claim that you don't have money and we find out that you did have money. So now you have been fined $3.
All right.
That was a real...
Two of those dollars totally in your control.
Totally in your control. Really, all the dollars in your control if you could just read.
Mm-hmm. Or if Roy could just write. I mean, one or the other. I mean, all right, I have $4 now. Jeez.
No, you're okay. No, you get grandfathered in.
That was
previous
really? It's falling under the same complaint umbrella?
You're really getting every cent of that.
We're going to get to Guillermo's Epic Sound of the Day in a second, and we also have Ed Helms joining us here, the guy from the Hangover movies.
And finally, HBO has announced their critically acclaimed miniseries, Big Little Lies, will be returning for another season. The hope is most of the cast will return. Negotiations are underway. Experience why for nearly a century men have trusted Barbasol for a close, comfortable shave, whether it's extra moisturizing with vitamin E or soothing aloe. All you have to do is sit back and bask in the glory of your close shave. You're looking good, America. You're shaving with Barbasol. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
As I said, Ed Helms, the Hangover guy, is going to join us in 20 minutes, and Useless Sound Montage is coming up. Stugotz, something I forgot to mention, just something that struck me. You remember how the Saints-Falcons game ended on Thursday night, where Drew Brees is dropping back to pass, and he's throwing a pass he throws all the time to a tight window with the linebacker's got his back to Drew Brees, so you just throw the ball and you allow your receiver to see it.
Right.
And so you throw into a real tight window. But in this particular case, Jones, the linebacker for Atlanta, made the play. And what I got to thinking about, made the interception, is do you remember how specifically he intercepted it?
No, I don't.
Okay. So you got a tight end. It's one of those passes, tight windows in the seam to the tight end. Mm-hmm. Just he runs past the linebacker, and you just throw it at the linebacker's head, and you get the big tight end to see it. But he turned around and jumped up at the height of Drew Brees' accuracy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He jumped up in the air, and he caught the ball, and he was very high in the air. And one of the things that I found interesting that goes unnoticed in the moment, in the frenzy of the moment, is he caught the ball in a way that made it seem like that football was Roy's baby, the way Roy would catch his baby. Like he caught the ball in a way that was maximum respecting the football. And the reason I realized it is because he was up in the air cradling the ball, and it was so important that he did nothing to brace his fall as he landed from a very high height right on his back. None of us would want to fall that way, but he did not want to let go of that football and that game.
Right.
So he was perfectly okay with doing something that if you and I right now did it in the television studio right there, we might not work for a week.
Correct. I'd be bracing my fall any way possible.
Because of specifically how high he jumped. But I just marveled at the way that those guys give their body to that cause. Like, he respected the football so much. Like, that guy could jump, and he was high in the air, and he held the ball with both arms, and he wanted to complete the catch, and so he just landed directly on his back without bracing his fall in any way. Anyway, that was Useless Sound, and so is this.
Football You know, one team wins, one team loses, and right now we're not on the winning end of things.
You know, proud of our guys. I mean, they played their guts out.
This game's about momentum, and you know, we had it for about 4 seconds.
Could have whipped out my medicine bag and done quick shoulder surgery and fixed him up, but I wasn't able to do that.
When the levee broke there at the end, you know, it's just a result of just, you know, bad vibes and energy.
It was crazy. You know, like I said earlier, never played in this in my life or played in the snow. Every time it snowed, I was in the house.
They don't make cleats. You know, there's not a pair of cleats out there that's going to work in that better than any other ones and whatnot. I mean,
have these days or have these seasons or have these moments, and that's why I go back to the old adage, you know, tough times don't last, tough people do.
You know, I don't know about all that gas pedal stuff, but, you know, I think, you know, we've been trying that all season. I think it's just we did it a little bit better today.
Listen, man, I don't got eyes in the back of my head, okay?
You either win or you learn, and we learned a lot today.
What we're not going to do is we're not going to beat ourselves.
He's beginning to get a little bit of drip.
Well, you don't want consistent problems. That's the goal of coaching. You want to have no problems. You know, right now we've got problems in a lot of areas.
That's sauce.
Well, I mean, I was fortunate because it happened right in front of me. You know, and there wasn't time to wait on anybody or anything. So, you know, it's just nice to see them get it right.
Largely, it's a no-blink attitude of the group, regardless of circumstance.
Everybody knows third down's money down.
We haven't had in the last 2 years any real meaningful December games in terms of playoffs. They all mean something, but in different degrees.
If we play well up front, you're going to give yourself more than not a chance to win.
As they call them, the hog mollies up front, man, they did their job.
You know, this is what happens to me. I'm not a real bright guy.
Bud Light was on point today.
You know, it's a game of inches.
It's a 2-point play. We're on the 2-yard line, and nobody can see any yard lines. I couldn't tell where the ball was the whole day.
I think he had one little boo-boo today on a screen. Just want to hit his feet. You can't throw it downfield. But he won't make that mistake again.
Alberto. Shout out to Alberto.
Yeah, I thought the adversity revealed a lot of good things in our football team. And I do believe that unity strengthens. And I saw unity and in essence saw a stronger football team in my mind.
Shut up.
I mean, momentum is momentum. You know, it's up and it's down. It's kind of like, you know, when you get it, you try to keep it.
He's one that if you ask my dad, how does he like number 20, he'd tell you that's a heck of a football player. And I think that's the best way to describe him.
Because they all matter. And forget records, they all matter. And it just rips your guts out.
You know, we just trying to get good, you know, winning DNA.
I don't know that the kick return game was an issue. The feeling of the ball was an issue. We'll get back in the lab and work on that.
They played their butts off. They played their hearts out.
You know, every time we step out in the field, I see smiles. I see guys who are hungry to go make a play.
You ever had a game, played in the game, coached a game in those kinds of conditions?
I played in them when I was in college. You know, every weekend was like that in Laramie.
Obviously, we got some things we need to work on, but we'll work on those things in our AFC North hats and T-shirts.
He's always going back to the lab, too. Yeah. The sound of the day is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Upgrade the shaving with a fresh blade whenever you want for a fraction of the price. Join DollarShaveClub.com today.
I just love the idea of Tomlin's got all these great skill players, and he's just running into it with nobody blinks, chunk plays, popcorn, splash, splash, and Belichick's going to beat him with Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, blades of grass. Here's Burkhead in your face.
And then here's a little Pagano for you, because this is the happiest I've ever been.
It's a 2-point play. We're on the 2-yard line, and nobody can see any yard lines. I couldn't tell where the ball was the whole day.
Just put it on his tombstone. Not of his career, the actual tombstone. No, hold on a second. Somebody engrave this right now. Right now, these words, as this is the end of Chuck Pagano's career, and this is the symbol for all of it.
It's a 2-point play. We're on the 2-yard line, and nobody can see any yard lines. I couldn't tell where the ball was the whole day.
How great is that? That's an NFL head coach.
It's awesome.
That happened Sunday. He was watching a football game. Like, go inside.
But you want that on the tombstone right now because he's not dead yet.
Well, you know what I mean. Yes.
Okay.
I shouldn't have said that.
All right.
Splash.
Thank you for not pointing it out.
Don Le Batard.
I think when I was young, I actually called Chris Berman at ESPN
and left him a message. Dave Winfield fly rule.
Stugotz.
You wanted him to weave that
Yeah,
into
I wanted
his
him to.
nickname?
Yeah, because Dave Winfield was playing then, and I left him a message.
You really did that? Mm-hmm. Because if I did that,
I know. Well, but Stugotz, you would do that now. I did it when I was 12.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Ed Helms from the Hangover movie is going to join us in 10 minutes. We'll get to Mike's weird text with his father in a second.
Oh, yeah.
That Carson Wentz injury, by the way, if he keeps running like that in the league, that's the reason that these guys all need to slide. All of them need to slide. I don't care what the circumstances are. Don't chase fumbles. Don't do anything. Don't chase interceptions. Slide. That is the reason. You can't have that. And Stugotz is right when he says during the break, first call the Eagles need to make is to Romo.
Yep.
First call.
Yep. This is the perfect situation. First off, he was diving in for a touchdown, Carson Wentz. You're saying don't even do that?
No, but don't ever do that. Don't do that. Do not dive at the goal line because, look, I mean, he got savaged.
How many times have you been watching Carson Wentz over the last 2 seasons saying that kid's going to get hurt?
Yes, he's going to get hurt if he keeps playing like that.
With Romo, it's interesting because there are so many fascinating elements to this. But this is kind of the scenario Romo's been waiting for. He just thought it'd come in the form of the Cowboys.
No, it's perfect.
Good offensive line. You get to stick it to Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. It's a 6-game run to the Super Bowl.
To stick it to the Cowboys. I think that might be what keeps him from doing it.
Really? Is the Cowboys?
Yes.
Is doing that to the Cowboys.
Doing that on that team.
But it's not like the Cowboys are competing with the Eagles this year for anything.
No, but he's a Cowboy. He's a Cowboy. Let's talk to Chris Sims about that and other things.
But you do have to make that call, right? And then if Romo says no, then you have to call Kaepernick.
Well,
you have a chance to win a Super Bowl.
They might go Foles instead of Kaepernick.
You have a chance at winning a Super Bowl. Nick Foles ain't going to win it for you.
This is the perfect situation for Romo. It really is. It's pretty good for Kaepernick, too.
Yes.
Yeah. And Foles has been in that offense. He's been in that room, to quote Mike McCarthy, and he was even in that system, I believe, when he was over in Kansas City. He's familiar with it.
Oh, but you could dump the next two. The reason it's perfect is you could be Philadelphia and dump the next two, just Romo figuring it out as he goes.
Correct.
Just give him 2 games of preseason.
Yep.
Chris Sims with us now again. He said that Blake Bortles is the 70th best quarterback in the world. Blake Bortles is going to make him eat it by winning the Super Bowl while we're still doing these rankings in January. So
Super Bowl MVP.
That's right. Bleacher Report is where you check him out. Grateful that he hangs out with us. So we got Blake Bortles at 70. We got Austin Davis at 69. 68 is T.J. Yates. He played yesterday. 67 is he's the starter now for Houston because Bill O'Brien doesn't know what he's doing. Number 67 is Cardale Jones. Number 66 is Brandon Weeden. Number 65 is C.J. Beathard. Are you ready, Stugotz, for number 64, the 64th best quarterback in the world, according to Chris Sims?
I am ready.
All right, Chris, give it to us.
It is Sean Mannion, backup quarterback, Los Angeles Rams.
All right, I have no idea who that is. Who that is.
Oregon State, right?
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Do you know who that is?
Congratulations, Sean.
Also put on the poll, please. Put on the poll, does Mike Tomlin blink? And what did you think of what we were saying there, Chris? What did you think?
I heard a lot of what you're saying. First of all, even if they win the Super Bowl with Blake Bortles, which they have a chance to do because this defense is one of the greatest defenses I've ever seen, he'll still be at 70 when that's all said and done. But after that, what you're talking about with the Carson Wentz issue, I mean, listen, I think they stay with Nick Foles. I understand the thought of Tony Romo and calling them, but I still think, you guys made some good points. That Nick Foles has been there. He understands the system. This is still a really good football team. It actually reminds me of a scenario my dad was involved in 1990. They were 12-2. My dad broke his foot against the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Giants had to change the way they played. They went to ground and pound with Jeff Hostetler, kind of got it together, played run the ball with Otis Anderson in defense, and ended up upsetting the Bills in Super Bowl 25 to win that. So it reminds me of that. Kaepernick's not happening, guys.
Right. Well, speaking of your dad would love if the Eagles called Romo, no?
Oh, he could go in there. Yes, Chris, he could go rushing in and like he's game ready. He's not like he can go up in there and do the rest of the season with Nance.
No thanks. No, we'll pass on that.
Wow.
I'm playing Dad's agent right now. We'll pass. Sorry.
Chris, what the hell happened with Nance, man? Like, what happened? Like, you guys hate Nance. What did he do?
I don't know what he did. I don't know. I'm just having fun with it. I mean, hey, listen, like you asked me the first time I was on the show, do I think he signed off on it? Certainly. Yes, I do. But whatever. My dad, I think, having a more enjoyable life now, doing the CBS halftime pregame. He gets to keep track of the whole league entirely a little bit better and doesn't have to travel and do all that stuff. It's better. I'm glad he's home more.
All right, we'll get number 63 from you tomorrow. Thank you. We appreciate your help, sir.
All right, be good, guys.
See you, Chris.
It's not a ridiculous idea on Romo. Like it's just tailor-made for him. That offensive line is so good.
Yep.
And he's better than Foles. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is Tony Romo's falling out of the sky in one of those squirrel suits today better than Nick Foles?
It's all the elements about last year's team. I remember you saying, imagine Romo behind this offensive line with this running game. Same, basically, really good offensive lines are the same. Running game, they have 3 running backs. They have good wide receivers. The defense is good. They have a chance of winning a Super Bowl.
We've got Ed Helms coming up next. I got to get to that Leonard Fournette sound. I forgot to play it for Chris Sims. Leonard Fournette, we've got exclusive sound of Leonard Fournette clearly in the concussion protocol, like clearly just dinged up, and the proof, like we've never aired anything like this before on ESPN where we have the proof that someone is failing the concussion protocol.
Like I told y'all, man, Blink's coming around, man. To me, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks. You know, last year they didn't have a running game, and now we have a running game, and I think he's showing his true colors.
Top 5 running back, Blake Bortles, or top 5 quarterback, Blake Bortles.
Good save, almost a fine there. Yep, last year he said Blake Bortles was a top 5 quarterback. So what he's doing there is essentially Leonard Fournette is giving himself credit for Blake Bortles' success.
He's a top 5 quarterback because I'm here now. Ed Helms next.
Don Le Batard.
Mike, how'd you feel that went? Was that okay for you?
No, what do you think about it? Huh? What do you think? Since you think you're being smart a little bit about it, what do you think how it went?
No, not being smart. I would not do that to Mike Tyson. I'm not being smart. No, sir. I say it in the most respectful way possible.
Well, you're the interviewer, so you tell me how it went, buddy.
Stugotz.
I'm sorry if I've upset you, Mike. Thank you for being on with us.
No, you didn't upset me, because if you upset me, you would have known about it.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
His new movie, Father Figures, opens nationwide December 22nd. Ed Helms with us on ESPN Radio. He was with The Daily Show. I think it's in the glory days of The Daily Show. I don't know what he thinks is the glory days of The Daily Show, but let's ask him. Thank you, Ed, for being on the show with us.
I'm guessing he thinks the glory days are when he was a part of it.
When would you look at the Daily Show and say that was, and thank you for being on with us, that was the best time to be there? That's probably the most fun I had, that 1 year.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. It's great to be here. It's a very simple answer. The glory days of The Daily Show started the day that I started, and they ended the day that I left. Right?
Okay.
I think we can all agree.
Thank you.
Yes, that is exactly right. I was laughing the other day seeing you talk to Colbert. That's a funny argument. You guys had a raging dispute one time. Stugotz, here, Ed, you tell the people instead of me telling the people.
Yeah, we had an ongoing debate because our offices were next to each other, and the bathroom down the hall it was a single occupancy bathroom. There was no latch that could indicate it if it was occupied. So I always felt like you should just jiggle the handle, and if it's locked, then you walk away and come back later. But Steven was adamant that you don't jiggle, you knock, and you wait for a response. And that's the polite and proper thing to do. But to me, like, why do you need to get put on the spot while you're doing your business? You should be left alone. Just check the handle. Walk away.
Oh, so you don't want to speak when in that vulnerable condition and share that intimacy with anyone else.
Exactly. And I also don't want to reveal my identity. Right?
There's a pooper. There's Pooper Ed Helms. What a stinker that guy is.
As soon as you say just a minute, then they know that it's you that's in there, and that's why not just let it be anonymous?
Let's go ahead and put that on the poll at Le Batard Show. Single occupancy bathroom. Jiggle knob or knock? Which is it? We'll have a poll answer for you by the end of the show. Ed, you're always asking that Colbert question, Stugotz, about Colbert. Here, ask a friend of Colbert.
Yeah, well, Ed, so we've kicked this around on the show a little bit. Do you think Colbert, because when he first started, when he replaced Letterman, the ratings were down a bit, and so we're wondering, or I'm wondering at least, do you think he would exchange his ratings that he has now in large part because of what he's doing with Donald Trump to not have Trump be the president of the United States, meaning exchange his ratings for Hillary Clinton to be in office?
Wow, that's actually a brilliant question.
Thank you.
But I actually, knowing that, I think I would have to say that Stephen would probably want what's best for the country ahead of what's best for his ratings. Because I think that he's a man of integrity that way. Now, what's best for the country is obviously a matter of opinion, and that's certainly.
You were really careful around this subject. That's funny to hear somebody from Hollywood being careful around the politics as opposed to blowing it in our face. He was really careful, right? He was really careful.
He's answering on behalf of Stephen Colbert, so he has to be careful.
I don't want to speak for somebody else. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to implicate somebody else, but
right. But then your answer was pretty useless after that.
I think Stephen loves America. What do you want? We all do, right?
Yeah, we all do. You would take the ratings, though, wouldn't you?
Of course I would.
His new movie, Father Figures, opens nationwide December 22nd. What did the acting struggle look like for you? Like, what are the details of you roughing it? Is it anything like the HBO show? Is it Crashing?
Oh, that's really funny. It's a lot like that show. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of people in that show from my days grinding it out in stand-up comedy clubs in New York City, and I just did Pete Holmes' podcast, and we talked about it. That show, better than just about anything out there, I think captures my experience.
Well, what's the shameful stuff that you had to do, or what are the venues where you were doing stand up and you're like, man, this is sad?
Well, you'll never know the depths that I went to get stage time. I will never talk about that. But
those days.
But no, there were so many shows. I mean, you just want stage time when you're starting out. It's just so important to get stage time and performance time, like a pilot trying to get, hours in the air. And so you wind up doing these really dingy shows in the basements of bars and just playing to audiences that are just incredibly resentful that you're even there because maybe you're talking over a football game or, and then a lot of times you have to stand on the corner and hand out flyers, which they call barking, like a carnival barker, just to try to round up audience members. And, there's not a lot of dignity in that.
It's so true. There is no dignity in what it is that you're talking about. But hey, man, look, you got the success. New movie, Father Figures, opens nationwide December 22nd. Ed Helms with us. You know him probably. Do you get a lot of people just shouting, "Hey, it's the Hangover guy," like as opposed to knowing you by name?
Yeah, for sure. The Hangover, and then it's funny. There are Office fans and Hangover fans. And they come at me with real different energy.
Yeah,
it's all good. It's all good energy.
Do you have a either firsthand or secondhand story, the best Tyson story you've got from filming with him? Like, was he always kind? Did he ever lose his temper?
No, he was really actually great. Every time we worked with him, the second movie. When I got his tattoo, it wasn't clear to me that anyone had told him that joke was in the movie. So suddenly, and then he came to Thailand to shoot that wedding scene with us because he's in the very last scene of Hangover 2. And I have his tattoo, and I actually I actually got really nervous the night before because I just started wondering, did anybody tell Mike that I got his tattoo as a joke? Is he going to be pissed at me?
Right.
And thankfully I saw him the next day, and he thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. So we had a great experience with him.
That could have turned out very differently.
Yeah, it could have. I had no guarantee that was going to go well, but thank God it did.
Ed, am I reading here correctly that you cry at sappy television commercials?
I heard that. I heard that about you.
Oh, my God. Where did you hear that?
Okay, so it's not true.
Well, I'm just reading it.
Oh, maybe it is true. I will neither confirm nor deny.
When's the last time?
I want to know the last time.
When's the last time Ed has cried at a time that's not inappropriate? That's not appropriate.
Yeah, that's not appropriate.
Like I cried during Ratatouille for some reason. It snuck up on me. I'm sorry about that. I still feel remorse. It just snuck up on me. I don't know. It was a tough time in my life.
It's going to be okay, buddy.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Ed. Thank you. I appreciate your soothing.
Ratatouille can get us through some
Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
Right.
Thank you for soothing.
Do you have one? Like there's
no. Let's leave him alone. He doesn't want to answer the question.
He doesn't. Huh?
No, that's
All right.
it.
All right.
Thank you for holding me to your bosom.
I think a Folgers commercial. Every time I hear that, the best part of it, Folgers in your that always brings a tear to my eye.
Really, that's beautiful. Good luck with the movie. Again, Father Figures opens nationwide December 22nd.
Do we want to give him the results of the bathroom poll real quick?
Sure.
All right. Let
Oh
me.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
let's find out here. At Le Batard Show on Twitter. Tell him how many votes we have. It's a worldwide, internet, national show. What do you have there, Stugotz?
In a single occupancy bathroom, should you jiggle the doorknob or knock when the door is locked? 390 votes. Lots of votes so far. Never happened before.
No.
50-50.
What? Whoa! Ed Helms!
You're part of history.
Ed Helms! 50-50 on the poll. Jiggling or knocking on a bathroom on a single occupancy.
My God, America is divided.
Yes, it's so divided everywhere you look. While we're at it, standing wiper or sitter?
Oh my God, that's a pass.
Pass.
I'd just rather not conjure that image for anybody.
Well, the reason we ask the question is very often that standers don't know that sitters exist, and sitters don't know that standers exist. And so I was hoping to surprise you. I was hoping to surprise you.
Funny.
There. Okay. But commented your way out of this. You were a real coward in this interview. You passed. You commented on that. Thank you, Ed. We appreciate your time.
It was nothing, Helms.
Hey, scratch and claw for every little drop of dignity that I have left.
We had to pry Folgers out
You
of
realize
you.
that people now have both images. Instead of no images, they've now got both of them because you've left that with them. You sit and it's insufficient, and then you stand. Everyone knows it now.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Hates us.
Hates us so much, and we deserve it. Hates us. To everyone listening, 1-800-Flowers is where you need to be if you need anything. You screwed something up at home. 1-800-Flowers is where you go. Allison is dealing with him right now, and she's probably getting yelled at. Funniest thing from the sports weekend and poll results next.
Oh, man. Right now, when you order 12 peppermint roses for just $29.99, 1-800-Flowers will give you an extra half dozen roses and a vase absolutely free. That's up to 40% off the original price. Peppermint roses are the perfect holiday surprise for these special people on your list. This beautiful bouquet in a rush of holiday white and red roses will leave your loved one stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Amazing roses at an unbeatable price.
Why did we just attack poor Ed Helms?
I don't know. I've been thinking about it the entire
what
time.
What did he do to us? Why did we just attack him with a barrage of questions? We attacked him.
And I insulted him by telling him.
Yes.
He gave us nothing.
Yeah, I think that's where we lost him, right there.
Dan Le Batard.
Jeff Van Gundy looked like the guy at the gym who pees out of the bottom of his shorts.
Stugotz.
Is that a wrong thing?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We don't have enough show here left, so we'll get to as much of this as we can. We've got funniest thing from the sports weekend and the polls. Let's do one of each here. So, funniest thing from the sports weekend. Mike, go ahead and fire that off, please.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha, ha, ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend is brought to you by Office Depot. This season, take care of business by treating yourself to great tech and furniture from Office Depot, Office Max.
What is your nominee, Chris?
During Giants-Cowboys, Fox was really rubbing it in, putting up a graphic that said Eli Manning had started 211 of the last 212 games.
Stugotz, read a poll question now from the show today.
Sure. The Twitter poll is brought to you by Upside.com, giving all business travelers the gift of a better travel experience this holiday season. Check them out today at Upside.com. Are you the guy who goes to the guy next door to fix something in your house? 73% of the audience said no.
That's me and Stugotz. Guillermo, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Lions Akeem Spence mocking Jameis Winston, eating a W after they won in the locker room.
Give us another poll question, Stugotz.
Is television footage coming out of Jacksonville a little bit grainier? 82% of the audience said yes.
Roy, what do you have? What was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, very good nominee. Another poll question, Stugotz.
Did the Jaguars versus Seahawks game feel like one of those Purge movies? 77% of the audience said yes.
Mike, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Zach Randolph, man, Zebo balled out over the weekend, and he was getting into it a little bit with Boogie Cousins. At one point, they had an exchange at the free throw line where Zebo told Boogie Cousins, "Where I'm from, bullies get bullied."
Yeah, that I don't know that was funny.
It was terrifying.
Yes, Boogie backed down from it, too. Boogie didn't want those particular problems. Where I'm from, bullies get bullied. Zach doesn't speak often, but when he does, his friends behind him have pool cues. Stugotz, go ahead and update another poll.
Do the Patriots crap Titans and Cardinals? 88% of the audience said yes.
Read another poll. Give us a bonus poll. We had some good polls today. At Batard Show on Twitter is where you go if you want to vote on the polls.
Do you know who Sean Mannion is?
That wasn't one of the good ones.
58% of the audience said no. Does Mike Tomlin blink?
That's a good one.
76% of the audience said no.
He never does. His eyes are so dry.
Is Tony Romo falling out of the sky in a squirrel suit better than Nick Foles?
It is.
64% of the audience said yes.
What was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
For me?
Yes.
They zoomed in on Phillip Rivers. Did someone say this? Because I was reading the poll questions and I wasn't listening to you guys. They
that would have
zoomed
been
in.
funny if you guessed.
Yes.
That would have been even better if you had taken one that somebody else had already used.
They had an entire minute. They zoomed in on Phillip Rivers because the team's playing well, and Rivers, they can make this run to the Super Bowl. They got a big game with the Chiefs, and right behind him for the entire minute. Yeah, there was a guy, a pick six, all right. A guy picking his nose.
That's right.
For 60 seconds.
All right. That's not surprising that that's what you would pick. Did you guys leave that Bills-Colts game to me on purpose? Like, how could there be anything funnier than that Fun-Cushion Peterman? I mean, first of all, Nathan Peterman. Just everything. Pagano walking on the field sad at the end of the game, alone in the snow.